Yeah, I'm going to call the video for today, My Heart Hurts. My Heart Hurts. For you to understand that little phrase and the story that goes with it, I need to explain who Faith Comes by Hearing is. Faith Comes by Hearing is a nonprofit group out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they put the Bible on memory chips inside a little box called a Proclaimer. It has a solar recharge panel, and it's just the Bible in the local language of over 2,000 languages for people around the world. Most of the world is illiterate. This is the only way they can hear the gospel and grow as a Christian, because people that are illiterate learn by story. And of course, Jesus taught by story, and the Bible is a collection of stories of the life of Jesus and the applications to our modern day world. So consider making a donation to Faith Comes by Hearing, and check out their Proclaimer on their website. They've also got a great app. It's free. It's called Bible.is. Bible.is. And I think there's over 2,000 languages already available, and they keep adding more. They work with the Wycliffe Bible translators. When the Quechua Indian tribe in the northern mountains of upper mountains in Peru, when they had the language Quechua, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, where the Bible was translated into their local language, they hire local people to record the Bible so it doesn't sound like a foreigner reading or speaking in their language, but they get local people to be John and Paul and Jesus, and it's like a dramatic presentation, but it's just word for word from the Bible and recorded in their language. That's what Faith Comes by Hearing does with the Proclaimers. So when it came out on the Proclaimer in Quechua, they gave some to some of the mountain tribes in Peru. These tribes know just enough Portuguese to come down the mountain and buy and sell and trade, but they're considered a nasty, dirty people. They're not even allowed to sit on a pew in the back of the church, because then the pew has to be scalded and cleaned and wiped off, because these people are so considered so nasty. So the missionary in that area, took some Proclaimers and showed them how you could also plug it in if their village had a generator or electricity, but also just set it in the sun and let it recharge, and then has a nice speaker so a good crowd can hear the Bible, and encouraged them to just listen nightly sessions to the Bible, and he'd check back with them. So after some time passes, this missionary went back through the villages in Peru and the mountains there, and he went to the first village of the Quechua Indian tribe and said, "How are your listening sessions going with the Bible?" And the village chief said, "Oh my goodness, when we heard the story of the woman with the issue of blood, the whole village was ready to become Christians." Really? Thought that was interesting. So he went to the next village and same thing. "How are your listening sessions?" "Oh, great, but when we heard the story of the woman with the issue of blood, the whole village became Christians." So to understand why this happened this way, you need to understand that illiterate people, when they hear a story, they put themselves in the position of the lead character of the story. So here's this lead character, is this woman who's been 12 years with an issue of blood. She's spent all her money and gotten worse, and she's required to yell, "Unclean, stay away from me." She can't even go near her own family or anyone else. And it's a sad situation. They're considered rejected. And so these Quechua Indians could really identify with that. So in each case, when each village would come to that story in the Gospels where the woman with the issue of blood touched the hem of the garment of Jesus and should have been yelling unclean but wasn't, Jesus turned around, and said, "Who touched me?" This woman in the story, and probably the Quechuan Indian tribes, were expecting probably a rebuke from Jesus. "You're supposed to be yelling unclean, you nasty, disobedient woman." And of course, that's how the Quechuan Indian tribe were treated, as nasty people. And so when Jesus responded very differently than they expected, and remember the response was, "Sister, your faith has made you well. It's healed you." When the Quechuan tribes heard the story, they would hold their heart and roll on the ground, saying, "My heart hurts. My heart hurts. How do I become a Christian? How do I become a Christian?" And when it comes down to it, all of us are dirty and nasty with sin in our lives. And the only way to get that cleaned up is to touch Jesus. Let Him touch you and be forgiven. Be obedient to God's will. So I hope you'll consider contacting Faith Comes by Hearing, checking out their website, maybe even making a donation. And remember that God's Word is still powerful and prayer still works. So keep praying. Love you.